sir with us today. Mr. Bharat Parashar, students. He is the head of all the 11 districts, Delhi Legal Services Authorities, districts of students. Sushant Chigotra, sir.
Sarthak
and Anusha
would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all and the esteemed guests in the auspicious occasion of paralegal volunteer training of Geeta International Business School.
I would like to welcome our dignitaries, respected Shri Bharat Parashar sir, Shri Sushant Changotra sir,
Yes, sir.
एक्सपीरियंस होता है
एक्सपीरियंस, सोशल सर्विस एंड सब कुछ पता होना. एनीथिंग एल्स? एग्रीमेंट और डिसएग्रीमेंट? लर्न अबाउट द ग्रास रूट लेवल. अबाउट व्हाट? ग्रास रूट ऑफ व्हाट? From your elbow and pat your back. We must compliment ourselves many a times. हम लोगों को तो कॉम्प्लीमेंट देते हैं, अपने को भी कॉम्प्लीमेंट देना चाहिए. That we took a very informed and laudable decision for many things. First, you decided to join this prestigious institution which thinks about you, about your well-being, about your personality. You must also congratulate yourself for having such good teachers and managerial authorities who take pains to introduce such new courses for you to ensure your personality growth. And lastly, you must pat yourself for having said yes to this course. Theoretically, they are perfectly okay. But effort should be to implement them actually in reality, in practical. बुक्स में तो बहुत अच्छी अच्छी बातें लिखी हैं, लोगों ने बताई होंगी, मैं भी कुछ किसी दो चार बता जाऊंगा. But what is actually required, what you do on the ground. So we all know about Constitution, the basics. So Article 39A, one of the directive principles, it casts a duty upon the state to provide equal opportunity, justice to all by providing free legal aid. So I may say that Article 39A is a fountainhead from which all these efforts of legal services authorities emanates. All the efforts on the part of government to provide easy access and equal access, that is equal word I am laying more emphasis, easy but equal access, which is more important. In the year 1987, I won't go too deep into the history. In the year 1987, Parliament enacted the Legal Services Authorities Act. It was actually implemented in the year 1995. I'll just give you a broad overview. Now, Legal Services Authorities Act conceptualizes primarily three bodies, or in states where we have taluks also, you may call it 4 bodies. The first is National Legal Services Authority.
Thank you very much.
बहुत सारे लोग चाहते हैं कि इसी वजह से कि यार वहाँ पे सिस्टम्स बड़े अच्छे हैं, वहाँ पे चल जाए, बट एक हार्डकोर रियलिटी है। अब जब हम सड़क पे जाते हैं, बहुत सारी इलीगैलिटीज हम आंखों के सामने आती है। वो बच्चा भीख मांगने आया, वी ऑल सी दैट। हम कहीं पे सड़क पे जा रहे हैं, किसी ने थप्पड़ मार दिया जस्ट फॉर सेक ऑफ इट, हमने देखा। व्हाट डू वी जनरली डू इन सच सर्कमस्टेंसेस? क्या करते हैं हम? एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, वी चूज टू इग्नोर, वी ऑल इग्नोर। आपको क्या कहना, मैं भी आज आप सबसे बहुत बड़ा हूं, आई हैव ऑलवेज इग्नोर्ड इट। Now being a paralegal volunteer, we are giving you an opportunity not to stay quiet. अब ये चीज कैसे चेंज होगी? It is very easy to say कि जी पैशन होना चाहिए और हमें इसको इग्नोर नहीं करना चाहिए, लेकिन कैसे? That is the real question. कैसे? It is the change in our mindsets, of course, but there has to be a method to it. अगर हमारे सारे प्रोसेस में मेथड नहीं है, वी आर लाइकली टू एंड अप बीइंग द सेम स्टेटस क्वो पे। सो व्हाट इज द मेथड? बेसिक मेथड, अंडरस्टैंडिंग, इंटरैक्टिंग विद पीपल। और पहला कदम सबसे डिफिकल्ट होता है। जैसे हम पहला कदम लेते हैं, उसके बाद हमें पता लग जाता है इट इज नॉट डिफिकल्ट। तो जो हमारी इनहिबिशंस हैं वो टूट जाती हैं। यहाँ पे आपके पास अपॉर्चुनिटी रहेगी टू टेक द फर्स्ट स्टेप। हम पुश करेंगे आपको, go there, please go there, please go there, once you volunteer, and once you go there, you see people, you see issues. Once you have acted on such a situation, the next time you won't shy away. Most likely you won't shy away. Most of you will most likely not shy away. So this is a good opportunity. आपको सर ने बताया कि there are villages in Delhi which are inaccessible to people. 2 घंटे by car nearest port पे जाना है। लेकिन आई वुड रियली वॉन्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू थिंक अबाउट इट। इससे भी बड़ा एक इशू मेरे को नजर आता है हमेशा। ट्रेवल करना बस में किसी के लिए डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, स्पेशली इन प्लेसेस लाइक दिल्ली। सबको पता है मेट्रो कहां से पकड़नी, बस कहां से चलनी। रियल इशू इज ट्रस्ट इन द सिस्टम। वी डोंट ट्रस्ट। उसके बहुत सारे कारण हो सकते हैं। इंस्टेड ऑफ pointing fingers to people कि यार इनका ट्रस्ट नहीं है, इनका ट्रस्ट नहीं है, we need to understand why the trust is missing. हर एक बंदे का अपना अपना एक्सपीरियंस होता है। Maybe somebody is living just next door to police station. वो डेली देखता है यार, चाय वाला उसके बाहर बैठता है, वो डेली देखता है कि यार यहाँ पे लोग आते हैं चले जाते हैं, किसी को मिलता है किसी को नहीं मिलता, यहाँ पे तो इतनी गड़बड़ी है। वो बंदा अपने माइंड में एक इंप्रेशन बना के बैठ गया कि सिस्टम डजंट वर्क, there is no help in the system. Let's do a very small exercise, but I personally find it to be very potent. I'll request all of you to please close your eyes for a moment, just for a moment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, breathe out. Imagine that you are in a dark room, completely dark room. We will feel a kind of sense, we can sense थोड़ी uneasiness. You are alone and dark in a dark room. Maybe the help is not coming. Maybe you will never get rescued from here. Now hear a voice from outside. Hello, don't worry, I am there. How do you feel? Please open your eyes. How do you feel after hearing that voice in your head? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are asking you to be that voice now. There are people who don't trust in system. Your small steps, believe me, I have seen it, and I'll share my personal experiences with you. These small steps will help people have trust in system. Article 39A, Article 51A, these are the letters in our constitution. But on reality, on ground, how will we transpire that into reality? Very simple thing, individuals. We as individuals can do small things and the system will change. Unless and until we can start with very basic things. Making people aware of their rights. Then having knowledge of their rights doesn't end there. How to avail those rights? you are going to be their helping hands. Such things, such jobs and responsibilities require passion. Passion brings dedication, and dedication accentuates focus. So there is a step to it, there is a method to it, and I really, really hope, and I am really confident in the kind of crowd and the students you are here in, we can make about it change. We can bring about a change, and it will be a positive change. Now, coming to the topic, why, first of all, laws relating to children. क्यों बच्चों के लिए IPC है, उसके अंदर everybody is covered. अगर कोई victim है तो everybody is covered. जिसको भी अगर मान लो कोई चोट लग मारी किसी ने किसी को थप्पड़ मारा, सिंपल हर्ट कॉज कर दी, ठीक है? Why do we need a special law for children? उसके अंदर trafficking is an offense. Then why do we need special laws relating to children? Why? We all like children. Am I correct? सबको बच्चे पसंद हैं? सबको पता है कि बच्चे थोड़े डिफरेंट होते हैं, मैच्योर और एडल्ट हैं। डिफरेंट होते हैं? बच्चे बिल्कुल डिफरेंट होते हैं, उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स डिफरेंट होती हैं। हम अपने जो भी इंटरनेशनल कमिटमेंट्स, जो भी कन्वेंशंस इंडिया ने साइन किए, उनको एक बार छोड़ दें, एक बार साइड पे कर दें। उसके बियॉन्ड वी ऑल अंडरस्टैंड कि बच्चों की रिक्वायरमेंट्स डिफरेंट हैं। उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स डिफरेंट हैं तो उसके लिए प्रोसेस भी डिफरेंट होना चाहिए। उसके लिए उनके लिए डिफरेंट सेट ऑफ लॉज थोड़े से होने चाहिए जो कि बच्चों को इजीली और इफेक्टिवली हेल्प कर सकें। So that is why we have lots of special laws with respect to children. हर एक प्रॉब्लम बच्चों के रिलेशन में डिफरेंट होती थोड़ी सी, उसके लिए स्पेशल लॉज क्रिएट कर दिए, स्पेशल एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट कर दिया। अब जो हमारा आज का टॉपिक है, why do we want to tell you about laws? जैसे सर ने बताया, you are not supposed to tell them कि लीगल एडवाइस थोड़ा देना आपको जो विक्टिम्स हैं, यू जस्ट नीड टू टेक देम टू द अथॉरिटी, जहां पे एक्सपर्ट एडवोकेट होगा और वो बताएगा, उसकी इनकी हेल्प करेगा। बट व्हाई वी आर टेलिंग यू, व्हाई वी आर हियर टू टेल यू, टॉक टू यू अबाउट स्पेशल लॉज। द आइडिया हियरइन इज दैट यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक्स ऑफ लॉ। जब तक मेरी दिमाग को नहीं पता कि दिस इज एन ऑफेंस, तो मेरी आंखें नहीं देख पाएंगी उसको। The idea of today's talk and seminar is to let you know as to what are the basic laws, ताकि आप उसको देखो, आप सबसे पहले खुद डिसाइड कर पाओ कि ये गलत हो रहा है, this is wrong, where it is wrong, ये सिचुएशन है। उसके बियॉन्ड आपकी इंटरेक्शन जो विक्टिम है उसके साथ थोड़ी सी जरूर होगी। सीधा आप किसी को कह दो कि भाई तू वहां पे चला जा DLSA में, वहां पे तेरे को लीगल एड मिल जाएगी, वो क्यों सुनेगा आपकी? वो नहीं सुनेगा। उसके लिए आपके साथ उसके साथ बात करनी पड़ेगी, राइट? उसके लिए आपको अंडरस्टैंडिंग होने बहुत जरूरी है। लेकिन उसके बाद फिर क्या करें? हमें पता लग गया ये लॉज हैं, हमें पता लग गया यहाँ पे ये वायलेशन हो रही है, उसके बाद क्या करना है? तो वील आल्सो टॉक लिटिल बिट अबाउट व्हाट विल बी योर रोल्स एंड रिस्पांसिबिलिटीज एज पैरालीगल वॉलंटियर्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू स्पेसिफिक लॉज और स्पेसिफिक सर्कमस्टांसेस, राइट? सो इन इंडिया it is estimated that there are around 472 million children. 41% of our population is children. उनको छोड़ नहीं सकते, उनके लिए हमें स्पेशल एफर्ट्स भी करने पड़ेंगे।
The major functions, or so to say, a major thing that comes out of the institution of marriage is that procreation or the children's progeny, right? So it could have been done easily to one man, women, right to choice. You can marry and then there will be children, you will enter into institution of marriage. But why are we talking so much about marriage? Why uniform civil code? And why there has to be, laws and enactments, whether it is codified or it is not codified? Why is it so? Because of the various. Okay, so there might be different religions, different customs according to which whether that would constitute a marriage or it would not constitute a marriage, we would determine. That is upon religion. But why marriage? Why you need laws, you need regulations, you need codification, non-codification for marriage? Why?
Number of disputes regarding
marriage is a contract.
Okay. It is a contract or it is a sacrament. That again would depend upon various religion and various these things also. But why marriage? Because when two individuals get married, one gets the status of wife, one gets the status of husband. So there are various laws or various benefits that would be given to wife if you can be termed as a wife. For instance, law of succession. If you are a wife, you will get certain properties. If you are not a wife, you will not get certain properties. For instance, live-in relationship. If somebody is living in a live-in relationship and doing everything and anything which can be determined as a wife, but she might not get all the benefits and everything. So if you look at various legislations also, they would definitely include the word wife. So if you are categorized as wife, you may get certain benefits or you might not get certain benefits. Property laws, very important. Property laws, maintenance laws, only when you have been categorized as wife or not. If you look at bigamy, bigamy is what? That you married two women. Now in that also the court will first come to the conclusion as to whether it is a wife or not, whether marriage has been properly solemnized or not. So for offences also, for punishment also, you need the status of a wife, and that is why we discuss so much about marriage, and you have enactments and you talk about codification, non-codification and all those things. So clear, that's the reason why we are studying about marriage and the matrimonial laws, because you derive various benefits, various rights, various liabilities, and also for various offences. Okay, so now I was talking about marriage of the same sex. So now that is not legalized, but society is moving towards it in the sense that Navjot Singh Johar case, wherein it has decriminalized the section has not been, the section 377 has not been struck down. It is only to the extent that if two individuals of the same sex, if they have any kind of sexual relationship, then that does not fall within the purview of section 377. And it has also to be seen that whether such a relationship should have been entered without force, deceit, coercion, fraud, undue influence and all those things. Only then. So society has also been moving, but as on date we haven't legalized same-sex marriages. Okay, so you understand the background and the history and everything, what is marriage, what is the institution of marriage. So institution of marriage can be looked from the sociological perspective also, right? But as on date we are concerned only with the legal point of view. Okay, then which law comes to your mind first? Hindu Marriage Act 1955. So Hindu law basically is a sacrament. The marriages in Hindus have been considered to be sacrament, and it is considered that for the 7 lives the marriage would be solemnized, and the union, the bond is for 7 lives, and it is not a contract unlike Muslim law. And but we have also have certain features of a civil contract, right? But in Muslim law, you are purely into a civil contract. Now, when you look at I can go by section also and tell you what is the capacity to marriage, voidable marriage. But first, I will give you an overview of what the Hindu marriage and what we'll be discussing. So you have who can marry? Who can marry? Who can marry? Major. So you have 18. So it is said that the capacity to marriage, who all have capacity to marry. So first is major, which section 5 would describe as 2 girls. So it should be person, man and women should be above the age of 18 years and the man should be above the age of 21 years. Then they should be of sound mind and somebody who is able to enter into a contract. So those kind of persons. Then they should not fall within the prohibited degrees of relationship. So prohibited degree of relationship, even that the Act has defined. So it should be 3 lenient ascendants from the side of the women and 5 lenient from the side of the male. So these would be, then you have prohibited Sapinda relationship, if in any of the lenient descendants, if they fall and they are related to each other, then that would be Sapinda relationship. So section 5 would say that these are the persons who can marry. So you understand there would be 3 kinds of marriages. One would be valid marriage, one would be void marriage, and one would be voidable marriage. So valid marriages are those in which all the conditions have been fulfilled. Now, would that mean that registration of marriage under Hindus is compulsory? No, registration is not compulsory, but it is always advisable that the marriages should get registered. So for that also you have various rules and guidelines. Now you tell me, if the marriage is if you want a marriage to be registered, then what are the advantages that you would get?
It gives the legal status and other legal rights being associated there.
Okay. So as simple as an example could be, if you want to make a foreign trip with both the spouses, then obviously you would want a marriage certificate, and it is always beneficial. Okay, can two Hindus marry as a civil contract? Court marriage, then yes, then it has to be court marriage, then it has to be section 9, then it has property matters, all those injunction suits, declaration suits and all those things. Then you would have regular MM codes, so regular MM codes, and that Thana wise jurisdiction is being given, so the regular MM codes will look into the various offences of the IPC. If you look at CRPC at the back, the schedule, the offence is there, and then tribal by the magistrate. So those are those codes. Then you also have Mahila Code. What does Mahila Code people do? The officers, the judges presiding over Mahila Code would deal which kind of cases? Crime against women, tribal by a magistrate. So those would be Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act, Section 498A of IPC, 354A, B, C, D. All these cases would be dealt by the Mahila Code. And then you have Family Code. So Family Code would deal with what kind of cases? Matrimonial cases, Hindu Marriage Act and all those things. Right? So the Family Code. So this Section 9 application would fall in the Family Code. Okay. Then you have restitution of conjugal, then judicial separation. Right? So the grounds for judicial separation and divorce is the same. But in judicial separation, there is not complete breakage of the ties of the relationship of a husband and wife. In divorce, you are completely broken apart, and your status is as single. As an unmarried woman, your status would be almost like an unmarried woman, and you do not have any rights and obligations towards the other party. But in judicial separation, you are being separated for a time period so that you can get time to rethink. And if in those time period of 1 year, if you are able to rethink that you can go ahead with the marriage, then you can go ahead. This is basically a cooling period that has been given. So judicial separation also is being filed in the Family Code. Then you have divorce. So there are various. So divorce also, it is by, what are the two kinds of divorce? Mutual consent and fault-based theory. So mutual consent is
When both the parties agree for
when both the parties, you people are law students, so you can obviously go to the sections and see. Both parties agree, but in that circumstances also, it is not that the court gives you like that. If both of it, otherwise you make fun of this relationship. This institution of marriage is a very important and an integral part of the society. You imagine, had this institution of marriage not been in the society, what would have been? What would have been that there would have been a havoc in the society.
People in India have applied under RTI Act, and 90% of them approximately are satisfied with the result, replies. और जो reply में satisfied नहीं हो पाया, वो first appeal में चला गया, first appeal से satisfied नहीं हुआ, तो second appeal में चला गया. तो इस प्रकार से, और फिर अपील के लिए कोई भी फीस नहीं है हमारे पास. Now coming to time frame, normally जो भी एप्लीकेशन है उसका उत्तर हमें 30 दिन के अंदर देना है, और यदि आपकी एप्लीकेशन कंसर्न्स लाइफ और लिबर्टी, then the response has to be sent in 48 hours. For example, आपने RTI लगाई कि हमारा एक पेशेंट गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल में ट्रीटमेंट के लिए है, उसका अब तक क्या ट्रीटमेंट हुआ, उसको क्या बीमारी है, हम उसको शिफ्ट करना चाहते हैं किसी नर्सिंग होम में, कृपया सारा रिकॉर्ड हमें दे दीजिए, और गवर्नमेंट का 1 महीने में दे देंगे, तो पेशेंट का क्या हाल होगा? He can die. So in such cases, the information has to be provided within 48 hours, irrespective of the fact कि वो अगला दिन सैटरडे है, संडे है, दिवाली है, दशहरा, 15 अगस्त है, 26 जनवरी है. We need to respond within 48 hours. That is number 2. अब एक सुविधा आपको देने के लिए जो दिल्ली प्रशासन ने आपको नहीं दी थी कि आप उसी डिपार्टमेंट में जाइए, वो हमने यहाँ पर चेंज करवा दी, क्योंकि मैं भी उस कमेटी के साथ एसोसिएटेड था। हमने कहा भाई जिस सज्जन को जहां आरटीआई लगानी है गलती से डाले या जानबूझकर डाले, let him drop an RTI in any department and that department will have to transfer the RTI to the concerned authority within 5 days, क्योंकि हमारी यहाँ इलिटरेसी बहुत है। मैं गवर्नमेंट के अंदर 50 साल लगभग काम कर चुका हूँ, 40 साल रेगुलर नौकरी, 10 साल एज एडवाइजर, विच इज रेयर थिंग। तो मुझे भी नहीं पता कि कौन सा विभाग क्या क्या रखता है नौकरी में होने के बावजूद, तो लेमैन को क्या पता। अब लेमैन के लिए हमने क्या किया, भैया तू एक राष्ट्रपति महोदय को चिट्ठी डाल दे, प्राइम मिनिस्टर को डाल दे, लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर को डाल दे, चीफ मिनिस्टर को डाल दे, डीसी दिल्ली लिख दे, अपने प्रिंसिपल साहब को यहां डाल देना, एंड इफ इज कवर्ड अंडर आरटीआई हाँ श्योर नो प्रॉब्लम। आगे नो आगे। तो इस प्रकार से हमने ये सुविधा दे दी कि भैया आप गलती से या जानबूझकर, जानते हो तो अच्छी बात है, कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट में डालो, 30 दिन में उत्तर मिलेगा। अगर आप गलती से डाल देते हैं तो 35 दिन में उत्तर मिलेगा। Because the Prime Minister's house is having at least 50 section officers who are daily collecting thousands of letters of complaints and RTI and other things, and they are passing on this work. Please. आइए, welcome.
Of laws. Earlier, obviously, how the laws are made. The laws are made on the basis of requirement in the society. The laws which were not there previously, why the need has arose today to enact those laws. The purpose being the society demanded that certain protection has to be given to those persons for which the law has to be enacted. Earlier, maybe the laws are not required for that purpose. That may be the reason the laws are not enacted. Every other year, many laws are enacted, but how the country was managing without those laws? Because the need was never there in the society for those particular laws. However, considering the circumstances of the society, knowing the fact that society itself keeps on changing, on the basis of those changes, laws needs to be enacted by the Parliament. Considering those changes, many laws are being passed every other day, or every other year, if I'll say. For the senior citizens, once the need arose that senior citizens need to be protected, or parents were secluded or living in old age homes, in those scenarios, what is the law? What was the law earlier? We have personal laws for every religion. Like Hindus, we have Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act. That itself provides, it is the first law, I believe, for the maintenance of parents. Section 20 of Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act guarantees that all the parents can seek maintenance from their children in case they are not sufficiently maintained. In those circumstances, Section 20 deals about the maintenance of aged parents. As is evident from the wordings of the section, the obligation to maintain parents is not confined to sons, and it is also for the daughters who are equally obliged to protect the parents. Under Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act, both the parents, father and mother, needs to be protected and have equal right to claim maintenance from their children. Even the stepmother, who is childless, has a right to claim maintenance from their children, from their stepchildren. Also in the Muslim law, obviously it is not codified. You must be aware of the fact that it is not codified. You are all law students, right? So Muslim law is not codified. The personal law by which the Muslims are governed, that also provides for maintenance, but obviously as per the personal law. Again, the Christian law, if you talk about the Christian law, there is no specific provision under the Christian law for the protection of the old age persons. and all the Christians are governed by the secular act of Code of Civil Procedure, Code of Criminal Procedure. Under section 125, it is a secular law where all the persons can claim maintenance from their children, irrespective of the religion by which they are governed. Section 125, before 1973, there was no provision for the maintenance of parents under CRPC. The provision was introduced for the first time by way of section 125. It is also essential that the parent establishes that the other party has sufficient means and has neglected or refused to maintain. That is, the parent, who is unable to maintain himself. It is important to note that CRPC is a secular law and governs persons belonging to all religion and communities. Daughters, including married daughters, also have a duty to maintain their parents. Still, senior citizens, or if I will say the parents, were neglected and were not governed and were not granted maintenance properly. That was the need which arose, due to which the Parliament came up with the Law, Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007. Before 2007, there was no specific law by which the maintenance can be claimed by the parents or senior citizens. As the name suggests, it is not only for the parents, it is also for the senior citizens through which the maintenance, in this act, through which maintenance can be granted. Up till 2007, there was no special or separate legislation. It was only with the passing of this act that a specific legislation for the protection of senior citizens came into force. Though the parents can claim maintenance under the CRPC, the procedure is both time-consuming and expensive. Hence, there was a need to have a simple, inexpensive, and speedy procedure to claim maintenance for parents. Therefore, to cast an obligation on the persons who inherit the property of their aged relatives. Here the term used is relatives, not the parents. The relatives who are about to inherit the property of an individual, the old age person, senior citizen, has an obligation to maintain that person. Or if he is in possession of the property of a senior citizen, in those scenarios also, he has an obligation to maintain that senior citizen, subject to the fact that that senior citizen is childless. If he has a child, obviously the primary obligation is of a child to maintain his parent. In case the senior citizen, the relative, whom we are talking about, is a minor, obviously that obligation cannot be casted upon him to maintain that senior citizen. The definition of a senior citizen as provided under the Act is that the person who has attained the age of 60 years and above. Therefore, all the persons who are below 60 years cannot claim maintenance under the Act, subject to the fact they are not claiming from their children. If the parent is claiming maintenance, he or she can claim maintenance even before the age of 60. In those circumstances, he or she can claim maintenance from their children. A parent has been defined under the Act as father or mother, whether biological, adoptive, or stepfather or stepmother, as the case may be, whether or not the father or the mother is a senior citizen. The Act defines children as sons, daughter, and also includes grandsons and granddaughters. Therefore, that obligation is not limited to the sons and daughters only. It is also on the grandsons and granddaughters who are duty bound to maintain their grandparents also. The Act defines a relative as someone who is in possession or who would inherit a senior citizen's property. That implies that person should be in the possession of the property who is claiming the maintenance from that relative, or that person is bound to inherit the property of that senior citizen. Obviously, senior citizen is having a child. That child will only inherit the property. So that situation never comes. The situation of a relative from whom the maintenance is being claimed will only arise in those circumstances where senior citizen is childless. In those circumstances, if senior citizen is having certain property and in the possession of which a relative is living, is in possession, or that relative is about to inherit that property. In those circumstances, that relative is duty bound to maintain under this Act, that senior citizen. Now, what is included in the maintenance? What is maintenance? It includes food, clothing, residence, and also includes medical attendance, like the right to have nurses or helpers in home, and to have medical treatment. It is not limited to food, shelter and clothing, which we generally know about the basic needs. The Act has enlarged its scope to the medical attendance and medical treatment also. And the Act used the word welfare. Now what is welfare? Welfare is the provisions for food, healthcare and recreation centers and other amenities necessary for the senior citizens. Again, here the healthcare word has been used, which includes everything from medical treatment to medical attendance. It is not limited to the medicines. Plus recreation centers, the old age homes which have been set up by the government, and in this act which have been set up by the government. The recreation centers, that also has to be there. And other amenities as per the needs of the person, individual, whether it be a parent or a senior citizen. Now who can claim the maintenance in this act? A senior citizen including parent who is unable to maintain himself from his own earnings or out of the property owned by him shall have the right to apply to the maintenance tribunal. The maintenance tribunal has been constituted under the Act. He has the right to apply to a maintenance tribunal for a monthly allowance from their children, not being a minor, or from a relative in case of a childless senior citizen. A person is not to approach the court for in this act. It is a maintenance tribunal where a person has to approach. The obligation of the children or relative to maintain extends to providing for the needs of such senior citizen or parent so that they may lead a normal life, the way they were living a life before they claim the maintenance. Now where the application for maintenance has to be filed, as I have already told you, not in the court. A maintenance tribunal has been constituted under the Act, before which an application has to be moved, which is presided over by an officer not below the rank of sub-divisional officer of a state. It can be filed in any district where a parent or senior citizen resides or where the children or relative resides. It is a discretion of the person filing the application where the application has to be filed. Now who can file the application?
I am posted as a secretary in Southeast District, Saket Court, and today I am here to talk to all of you about laws related to women. ठीक है? सबको हिंदी और इंग्लिश समझ में आती है? Is there any other third language that you guys want me to talk in? No. So how many of you have visited court? कौन से court गए थे? High Court? सीधा ही? अच्छा, you guys must be doing your internships, ना? Internship में गए थे? या कॉलेज की विजिट थी? क्या देखा हाई कोर्ट में? क्या सेशंस? कोर्ट प्रोसीडिंग्स देखी? ओके। डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट कोई गया है? यस मैम। कौन से कोर्ट? इतने सुंदर कोर्ट कॉम्प्लेक्स 30,000 कोई गया है? क्या देखा 30,000 में? बस कोर्ट में नहीं गए, किसी कोर्ट में नहीं गए। चलो, जितनी मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है और नॉलेज है, I would like to share with all of you. And I believe as paralegal volunteers, it's a great opportunity for you guys to go. It's a great opportunity for you guys to actually go in the community and help people. देखिए, जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट लीगल सर्विसेज अथॉरिटी है, वो आप लोगों की वजह से ही होगी। पैरालीगल वॉलंटियर्स का इतना इमेंस रोल है, आई बिलीव कल से अब तक में शायद हाईलाइट हो चुका होगा। पर लॉज रिलेटेड टू वुमेन हम क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? Can anyone tell me laws related to women, why is it so hyped? ये फीमेल्स के लिए इतने लॉज क्यों हैं? Can anybody tell me any volunteers? अरे कोई क्लास नहीं है यहाँ पर। You can, I'm your friend. It's completely okay. Can anybody tell me laws relating to women क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं? Come on, guys. Violence बढ़ रही है.
Ma'am, basically women is, they are comprised of a sector which is very much vulnerable from the very beginning. Hence, it's very important for us to actually, preserve the culture, and women being the paramount representative of any culture, it's very important to preserve them.
Very good, very good. Anybody else?
because of the patriarchy being followed from all the generations till now,
Right.
that the women section of the women are basically they are dominated upon by, and that's why we need to have some laws related to it.
What does our preamble say? Justice,
Equity,
social, economic and political. Equality of status and of opportunity. So the laws relating to women are just a manifestation कि शायद हम preamble से ही, शायद जैसे हम कहते हैं ना पूरा constitution ही preamble से outflow हो रहा है, तो सारे laws भी ना हमारे preamble से ही आ रहे हैं. तो अगर हम laws relating to women पढ़ रहे हैं, तो वो एक manifestation है हमारे preamble की. It is a rule book. क्या कहते हैं उसको? ग्रैंड नॉर्म कहते थे ना हम? कुछ याद आ रहा है मुझे कॉलेज से, हालांकि मुझे 10 साल हो गए हैं अब, बट हाँ शायद ग्रैंड नॉर्म कहते थे. जूरिस्प्रूडेंस में किसी ने ध्यान नहीं दिया होगा, इट्स वेरी ड्राई, है ना? कुछ तो याद होगा. ग्रैंड नॉर्म कहते थे ना. तो ग्रैंड नॉर्म क्या है? प्रीएम्बल. प्रीएम्बल क्या कहता है? इक्वालिटी ऑफ स्टेटस एंड ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी, जस्टिस, सोशो इकोनॉमिक, पॉलिटिकल, नॉट ओनली डन बट सीन टू बी डन. ठीक है, तो हम 3 तरीके की चीजें पढ़ेंगे आज. एक है रेप, एक है सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट एंड सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट, और एक है सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट एट वर्कप्लेस.
The profession which you have chosen will give you ample opportunities to be serving the society. एक हिंदी में कहावत है, and that's a कहावत very important to me and close to my heart, and that says, इस जिंदगी में किसी का भी आना एक भाग्य की बात है, और किसी का किसी दिन मृत्यु हो जाना भला ये एक समय की बात है, मगर मृत्यु के बाद भी लोगों के दिलों में रहना ये आपके कर्मों की बात है. इसलिए मैं तो इसलिए आपको प्रेरित करूंगा कि काम कुछ ऐसे करो जिंदगी में कि लोग आपको याद रखें जिंदगी के साथ भी और I'm not here to promote but think of it. In journal, if you see, the line holds good. कि काम हम कुछ ऐसे करें, कर्म हमारे कुछ ऐसे हों कि लोग हमें याद रखें जिंदगी के साथ भी तो जिंदगी के बाद भी. मैं तो इसको लाइन को एक्सटेंड करूंगा. सुनिए एक्सटेंशन. सर आप सिर्फ वहीं नहीं रहते जहां इस वक्त आप रहते हैं. चलिए, physically we have to stay somewhere, maybe in a hostel, maybe in a room, a rented room, or a place with our good parents. आप सिर्फ वहीं नहीं रहते जहां इस वक्त आप रहते हैं, आप तो वहां हैं जहां लोगों के दिलों में. आप तो वहां हैं जहां लोगों के दिलों में हैं. Your true places is in the hearts of other people. मेरे से अगर आप सही मायने में पूछें, the most expensive, जी हाँ, that's my proposition. The most expensive real estate to live in is in others people's heart. और आप दिल्ली में बैठ के आप ये सोच रहे थे शायद वो ग्रेटर कैलाश है. Sir, this is the biggest contribution which you can ever make to anybody in this life. सर ये दुनिया और ये जिंदगी बहुत ही हसीन है, जाने क्यों? वो कौन सा गाना था ना? जाने क्यों? देखो मैडम को भी याद है. तो मैं तो ये कहूंगा कि जाने क्यों हम अपनी वो छोटी अटकलों में इंगेज हैं, विदाउट रियलाइजिंग. वो कौन सी फिल्म आई थी, इसका टाइटल था ये जिंदगी. मुझसे लग रहा है कि आप वहां पिक्चरें बहुत देखते हैं. अच्छी बात, बट अच्छी फिल्म, बिकॉज आपको और मेरे को भी पता है कि ये जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा. सर यकीन मानिए आज की डेट में व्हाट आई हैपन टू सी अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड इज लोग छोटी इररिलेवेंट बातों में इतना अपना समय व्यतीत कर रहे हैं. कई बार तो मुझे आश्चर्यजनक होता है इस दुनिया में क्या यही वो करने आए थे. एक एग्जांपल देता हूं.
Anyway, today's lecture is about labor law. So, can we start? All good? Coffee पी ली सबने? नहीं मिली चाय मिली है तो आप बता देते हैं मैं नॉर्थ में आ गया मगर मैं राउस में तो नहीं पिला पाता अब पिला दूंगा शायद से तुम्हें नेक्स्ट टाइम ऑनवर्ड्स एनीवे सो लेबर लॉज कितने हमारे इंडिया में एनीवन हैज एनी आइडिया ऑल ऑफ यू आर लॉ स्टूडेंट्स राइट 3
मतलब
40 to
they are
50,
many,
sir,
but
there are
now
lot of
the codes are
flexibilities.
made which are
The codes are 4. They have been drafted by the central government, but because of the COVID, they have not been implemented or accepted or ratified by the state. कितने लॉज हैं अंदाजन? क्राइम के लिए कितना है? एक मेजर अगर लॉ की बात करें तो क्राइम के लिए कौन सा लॉ है? आईपीसी राइट? सीआरपीसी प्रोसीजर, आईपीसी सब्सटैंटिव. सब्सटैंटिव लॉ पता है क्या होता है? क्या होता है बताना? आप जुडिशरी रेडी हो यार मुझे तो जुडिशरी से पहले पता ही नहीं था तैयारी करने से हाँ जी राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज या एग्जैक्टली सो आईपीसी आपने गो थ्रू करा होगा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट एवरीथिंग सो एक वेरा याद करना है समझना कितना मुश्किल है फॉर यू एंड फॉर लेमन जिनके बारे में बात करें लेबर्स के बारे में तो उनके लिए कितना मुश्किल होगा So labor laws आपको पता है कितने? The central government says according to the document around 44 labor laws. 44. I could find 51. So I think even they are not sure. Anyway ये वीडियो पब्लिक मत करना पता चला. So labor law is a concurrent subject. So concurrent subject बोल दो state and central can make it. So the data says state government has around 100 laws. So कितने में 150. Can we expect a labor to understand? रिक्शा चलाने वाले कि मेरे 150 मुझे पता है कहाँ जाने हैं नहीं right? So that is अगर वो labor है. But do we enter into a contract with them? So their right goes to drain, right? इसके अलावा ऑटो वाले एसोसिएशन है यूनियन है उनकी बट काफी यूनियंस जो है वो काम कर रही हैं बट विदाउट एनी रिटन डॉक्यूमेंट्स सो कैन दे एक्चुअली प्रूव कि किसी यूनियन का पार्ट है वो या कहाँ उन्हें सेस फंड मिलेगा या वेलफेयर फंड मिलेगा डू यू नो हाउ मेनी लेबर्स आर देयर इन इंडिया एज ऑफ डेट ऑफ 2018 एनी वाइल्ड गेस एनीवन 40 crores?
How many laborers?
Yeah, how many laborers are there in India?
It must be 60.
50 crore. And 93% of them are from unorganized sector who cannot prove that they actually have an employer-employee relationship. Okay? चलिए, ये तो हमारा स्टार्ट डेटा हो गया थोड़ा सा और कितने जैसे अगर हम कह रहे हैं 150 लॉ हैं हमारे तो कितने अब 150 लॉ है तो बहुत सारे फायदे होंगे बहुत सारे रेगुलेशंस होंगी तो आउट ऑफ दिस 50 करोड़ लेट्स अज्यूम 45 करोड़ आर अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर के लेबर हैं कितने परसेंट लोगों को फायदा मिल रहा है 150 लॉ का
5% मैक्सिमम
इतना बुरा भी नहीं है हमारा देश थोड़ा तो बेटर है हाँ जी बट ही इज ऑलमोस्ट राइट अराउंड 8% दैट्स इट 8%. So that is the reason 4 codes are being brought to take into account the unorganized sector as well. So let's start. Start.
Be sure about it. Okay, so today's session is about the constitutional vision of justice. Most of you are first year students here? Yes. How many of you are from second or third year? Okay. So have you read the Constitution of India? All of you have read the Constitution?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? How many of you have read it? Good. Okay, so even if you haven't read about the Constitution of India, I believe, can I talk like this? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So even if you have not read about the Constitution of India, I believe you all know what is Constitution of India. What is Constitution of India? It is the grand law. It is the basic law out of which all other laws emanate. It is the grand law. It is the basic law out of which all other laws emanate. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So जितने भी हमारी country में laws हैं, be it IPC, CPC, CRPC, procedural laws is also the state which has to ensure कि सबको जस्टिस मिले. सो इट इज अ कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. किसी एक की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं. आज हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि हमारी कंट्री में सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट की आर्टिकल 142 में लिख दिया तो अब सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि सारे सिटीजन्स को जस्टिस मिलनी चाहिए. क्या डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है? क्या ये हाई कोर्ट्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है? या क्या स्टेट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है? तो इट इज अ कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ ईच वन ऑफ अस. क्या एक इंस्टीट्यूशन में एक डायरेक्टर, एक वाइस चांसलर, अगर मैं एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट की बात करूं, या अगर किसी और प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशन की बात करूं, सीईओ की ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है कि जितने भी उनके एम्प्लॉयज हैं उनको इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी मिले, है ना? सो इट इज अ कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. ये जो हम बात करते हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल विजन ऑफ जस्टिस. So this constitutional vision of justice, to achieve this constitutional vision of justice, it is not the responsibility of only the courts or the state or the government. It is the responsibility of each one of us sitting here कि ये हम अपने fellow citizens को ये opportunity दें, equality of opportunities, या फिर जिसे हम कहते हैं justice according to the preamble of the country. अब ये justice कैसे हम secure करते हैं हर strata of the society को? जैसे कि मैंने बोला कि हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के 4 पिलर्स हैं, राइट? तो जो बाकी के पिलर्स हैं ना, ये 3, ये इंश्योर करते हैं कि ये चौथा पिलर जस्टिस हम सबको सिक्योर कर पा सके. पहला पिलर क्या है? इक्वालिटी. तो अगर हम सबको इक्वली ट्रीट करेंगे तो हाफ ऑफ द बैटल इज वन. अगर हमारी कंट्री में से डिस्क्रिमिनेशन खत्म हो जाएगा, चाहे वो कलर का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो, ब्लैक और व्हाइट, या वो कास्ट का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो, जैसे कि पहले अनटचेबिलिटी था. तो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्लियरली बोलते हैं कि अनटचेबिलिटी विल नॉट बी प्रैक्टिस. तो किसी भी तरीके का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अगर हम अपनी कंट्री से खत्म कर देते हैं तो हाफ द बैटल इज वन. हमने लोगों को इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी तो दे दी, तो इन सब वेज हमने उनको जस्टिस के पास ले आए उनको, राइट? सो फर्स्ट पिलर इज इक्वालिटी. इक्वालिटी एज हैज बीन डिफाइंड अंडर Article 14. And what does Article 14 say about the equality? क्या सब इक्वल हैं? अगर सब बिल्कुल इक्वल है तो फिर फीमेल्स के लिए स्पेशल लॉज क्यों होते हैं? अनटचेबिलिटी, SC एक्ट, ST एक्ट क्यों अलग से दिया गया है?
As before formation of the articles, like just Article 14 or 15 or any of the fundamental rights, there was a huge gap between haves and have-nots. So in order to bring them on equal footing, so special laws are being drafted for them in order to bring them in the, or you can say the special privilege is being given in order to bring them in the one footing.
Right. Very good. Anybody else? Yes.
Because we believe in equity. Zero लोगों को मालूम चल गया ना कि यहाँ पे फोन करेंगे तो पुलिस आएगी. हमारा उद्देश्य ये है कि 1516 पे लोगों को ये पता लग जाए कि अगर हमने इस पे फोन कर दिया ना तो हमें लॉयर मिल जाएगा. As small as requirement कि आपको ये पता करना हो कि मैं किस jurisdiction में जाऊं, मैं कहां जाऊं, कौन सा पुलिस स्टेशन लगेगा. You can call on 1516 and you can talk. And if you don't get a proper response, do report it. कि नहीं आया proper response. That is also very important. What we expect out of paralegal work. एक बहुत important चीज है. Who all want to become a judge? Judiciary में कौन आना चाहता है? किसका रुझान है? You all want to be a judge. So tell me one thing. मैंने एक एग्जाम पास किया, मैं एक एग्जाम पास करके जुडिशियल सर्विसेज में आ गया, जज बन गया. What makes me different from a common man apart from clearing an exam? Okay, knowledge is one thing. नॉलेज तो उसे भी आ जाएगी, वो भी पढ़ लेगा. सूट्स नहीं देखा आप लोगों ने, वो पढ़ लेता है, उसको जितना लॉ आता है, वो क्या नाम है उसका, आई थिंक मैं और उस आम आदमी में, once I cleared that exam and became a judicial officer, and many of you tomorrow you will clear an exam and become a judicial officer, or you will go to any other post, be it IAS or anything. जो एक चीज आपको आम आदमी से अलग करेगी ना, वो है that you are better trained, you will have better skills. Anyone can adjudicate. Anyone. अभी आपने लाइफ में कभी adjudicate नहीं किया? आपने हजारों बार adjudicate किया होगा, अपने फ्रेंड्स में adjudicate किया होगा, अपने घर में adjudicate किया होगा. हर जगह आपने एडजुडिकेट किया होगा, बट जुडिशियल साइड पे हम कई बार मेरे से लोग पूछते हैं 24 साल का लड़का जज बन गया क्या करेगा ये, 24 साल में कैसे कर लेगा? तो वी यूज्ड टू टेल देम वी आर बेटर ट्रेन्ड, वी आर स्किल्स, इवन इन जुडिशरी, इवन इन लॉ 2 + 2 = 4। अगर आप सारे फैक्ट, सारे सर्कमस्टेंसेस, हर चीज को देखोगे तो मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूला से यू रीच आउट टू अ जस्ट कंक्लूजन कि जो कंक्लूजन पहुंचना चाहिए। So therefore these trainings what we are conducting for you, and I got the input from my seniors, my colleagues जो यहाँ पहले lectures लेके गए कि आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से lectures लिए, तो I was also very excited to come here। तो these trainings are very important, these trainings make you cut apart from the others, but then knowledge सिर्फ अपने तक रख लोगे कोई फायदा नहीं है जब तक उसे बांटोगे नहीं, जब तक उसे बढ़ाओगे। So having this introduction done, coming to the topic, the laws related to juveniles, ये topic दिया आज मुझे कि इस पे मुझे आपसे बात करनी है। मुझे मैं बताओ who is a juvenile? कौन बताएगा? Who is a juvenile? नहीं समझ आया, कोई भी एक बता। Anyone, आप बताओ who is a juvenile? Who is below the age of 16? आप बताइए, यहाँ से किसी ने हाथ उठाया था? Who is below the age of 16? Anyone else? Below the age of 18? तो मेरा छोटा भाई 15 साल का है, तो क्या वो जुवेनाइल है? नो सर, वो तो चाइल्ड हुआ ना। Juvenile is a word जो शायद अमेरिकन जूरिस्प्रूडेंस से आया, वहां से हमने उठाया, क्योंकि हम UN चार्टर राइट्स ऑन जो भी है वो उसमें लिखा हुआ है, मैं अभी पढ़ के बताता हूँ आपको, हम उसके सिग्नेटरी है। Juvenile is somebody who has committed an offense, who is below the age of 18 years and who has committed an offense, उसको हम जुवेनाइल कहते हैं। आप 4th ईयर में कौन है, हाथ खड़ा करो। ठीक है, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट, जेजे एक्ट कहते हैं इसको। फुल फॉर्म बताओ, एक भी आदमी मुझे कोई फुल फॉर्म बता सकता है इस एक्ट की? हाँ बोलो बोलो बोलो, डोंट शाय बोलो। जेजे एक्ट की फुल फॉर्म बताओ। जुवेनाइल जस्टिस प्रोटेक्शन। वेरी गुड, यही मैं सुनना चाहता था। 80% लोग ना, आप जब लॉयर भी बन जाओगे, जब आप प्रैक्टिस में आ जाओगे, 80% टाइम्स में ना आप बोलोगे जेजे एक्ट, जेजे एक्ट। आई एम गिविंग यू अ सजेशन, नेवर कॉल इट अ जेजे एक्ट, कॉल इट बाय फुल नेम, जुवेनाइल जस्टिस केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चिल्ड्रन एक्ट। ये है उस एक्ट का नाम। 90% लोग पॉक्सो बोलते हैं, पॉक्सो को पॉस्को बोलते हैं, और मैं अभी तक करीब 5000 इंटरव्यूज ले चुका हूं जिसमें लॉयर्स होते हैं, आज तक कोई मुझे फुल फॉर्म नहीं बता पाया। माय फर्स्ट एंड माय पेट क्वेश्चन इज कि मुझे पॉक्सो की फुल फॉर्म बता दो। आप लोग तो बता दोगे, आप लोग बता दोगे, अभी बता रहे हो, आप भी भूल जाओगे when you come to practice। So my suggestion to you is जब भी आप एक्ट को पढ़ें, जब भी आप एक्ट का नाम लें, ब्रीफ कभी नहीं, आपने हमेशा उसका पूरा नाम बताना है, क्योंकि इसके नाम में ना ये पूरा बेयर एक्ट भरा हुआ है कि इस एक्ट में है क्या। What is there is in the act is written here. This whole act is about care and protection of children. This act has nothing else. When we talk about juveniles, हमारे मन में एक सवाल आया, जुवेनाइल, एक बच्चे ने ऑफेंस कर दिया, हमारे मन में बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं, सजा दे दो, पेरेंट्स ऐसे होंगे, ऐसे स्ट्रैटा से होगा, ये होगा, उसको पढ़ने के लिए नहीं होगा, भूखा होगा, एक ना पिटीनेस वाली बात हमारे मन में आने लगती है। बट हमें उसके साथ पिटी नहीं करना। हमें अगर कोई जुवेनाइल है और उसने कोई ऑफेंस कर दिया है, हमारा सिर्फ एकमात्र उद्देश्य है हिज केयर एंड हिज प्रोटेक्शन। We are not concerned about कि हम उसे कितनी सजा देंगे, उसे सजा मिलेगी या नहीं मिलेगी, क्या होगा। The whole idea about the act is his care and protection. ये पूरा एक्ट ही इसीलिए बना है, एंड जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट has undergone tremendous changes if you may know. ये तीसरी बार अब नया एक्ट बन के आया और अब इसकी 2021 की अमेंडमेंट भी हो गई है. It has been passed, but it is still to be notified. तो अभी वो notify नहीं हुआ. So this law is undergoing tremendous change. Why it is going under tremendous change? Because we want as best laws as possible to secure the future of our children. First, we are not able to give them the appropriate atmosphere. Second, they commit an offense. Third, we put them in jail. Fourth, they are cut off from the society. Fifth, they become hardcore criminals. We have to stop it. It has to stop. So therefore, this Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act of Children is very important. This act basically carves out three very important institutions. Three very important institutions are carved out in this Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act. First is the Juvenile Justice Boards. Second is Child Welfare Committees.
Without warrant. So this is the line which has been drawn. Arrest without warrant, starting off investigation without the permission. Non-cognizable offences में no authority to arrest without warrant. The police will have to approach the court to seek a permission, to seek a warrant. Permission is always given in the form of a written warrant. Right? So police cannot arrest the person without warrant. Second comes, the police has to take permission of the concerned magistrate to initiate the investigation. Thirdly, section 155 CRPC provides that on receiving the information regarding a non-cognizable offence, the police will have to record that information in their diary and then forward the complainant to the magistrate. Cognizable offences में you have FIR. Everyone has heard about FIR? Yes. What is FIR? Information report. The similar concept is in non-cognizable offences, which you might not have heard because you have not been to court, is NCR. Non-cognizable report, FIR का counterpart है for non-cognizable offences. यहाँ पर what the police does is, when the person approaches them, that such and such thing has happened with me, and police finds out that the allegations are making out only a non-cognizable offence. They record the allegations in their diary and then forward the person to a magistrate. Magistrate के पास the person goes and then says the same thing, whether written or orally. Then the magistrate generally asks the police to file the NCR, right? NCR की copy magistrate मंगाता है police से, and then the magistrate sees whether the offence is made out, whether the investigation is needed or not, and then the directions are given. Then first the directions are given because investigation is still pending, non-cognizable में. Investigation can only start in non-cognizable offence once the magistrate directs it, right? So first of all, magistrate will see the nature of allegation, whether the offence is made out or not, then direct the police to investigate the offence and file a report, right? So these are the distinctions between the cognizable and non-cognizable offences. Then let's come to the hierarchy of courts. We have different tiers in our judicial system. We are only talking about the criminal justice system today. So I have only mentioned the appeals after specially from High Court. Because you all know Supreme Court also has original jurisdiction to take up constitutional matters, to take up dispute between two states or state and center. That is not our concern today. We are only talking about how the case is approached, how the cases go to Supreme Court from lowest level. MM कोर्ट में कोई ट्रायल चला है और लेट्स से सेशंस कोर्ट में कोई ट्रायल चला है, so that will go to Supreme Court only by way of appeal, right? And that appeal will always run through the Honorable High Court, right? So lowermost level is Metropolitan Magistrate. In other state it is Judicial Magistrate, but in Delhi, because Delhi is a metropolitan city, it is the Metropolitan Magistrate. Above Metropolitan Magistrate is the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate, who is the first among the equal. Still he is a Metropolitan Magistrate. But under CRPC, he has been given some enhanced powers. He can sentence for imprisonment up to 7 years, whereas the lowermost metropolitan magistrate, the imprisonment is only up to 3 years. Above that is Sessions Court. We have our Court of Sessions. Have you had experience of going to Sessions Court? Yes. Anyone of you? So, Sessions Court में देखा होगा, generally the crowd is less. Generally MM courts are more crowded. So that is because Sessions Court only take up appeal matters. Appeal or revision, those go to Sessions Court. All the original disputes go to Metropolitan Magistrate or Chief Metropolitan Magistrate. Then we have High Court, who is the appellate authority, as well as for confirmation of death sentence. This is another additional thing that has been given to Honorable High Court by the CRPC. Let's say the murder trial, let's take murder trial for example, 302, that is originally triable by Sessions Court, right? And the maximum punishment is punishment of death. If the Sessions Court finds the person guilty and sentences him to death, the person will not be executed immediately. Of course, appeal hai, the person can prefer the appeal. But even after the Sessions Court sentences the person to death, there is a hearing called confirmation of death sentence hearing, which is taken up by the High Court. And that is one of the original jurisdiction of High Court when it comes to criminal side. That has to be done by High Court. Whether it is confirmed or not, that the High Court sees, and then the appeal can go to Supreme Court. But Sessions Court ka death sentence ka sentence will not be executed unless and until it is confirmed by the High Court, right? So this is the hierarchy of courts that we have in our system. Then let's come to the accused or the arrested person. The accused will be arrested at some point, right? Or if he does not surrender to the jurisdiction of the court, he will be arrested during the investigation.